Ready. Play.
Another ace from Fritz. We have 3 match points to pick up 200 ATP points and a commanding lead on the table. Ball in the air, goes cross court, backhand by Medvedev, volley by Fritz, ball in the air though by Medvedev, and it goes long. And hey presto, Taylor Fritz has taken victory against Daniil Medvedev 6-4, 6-3 in under an hour and 20 minutes. So a pretty quick match for certainly would say a very quick match actually for the first match of the day. And that really puts Taylor in a great position to look to qualify from this group.
Yeah, I mean, I think a win regardless was big for either of these players, but to win in straight sets is like another level. I mean, we saw, like I mentioned earlier, Swiatek lost a match in straight sets, and that was basically her out. Or it put her in a very difficult position to qualify despite winning 2 matches. And Medvedev has still got to play the 1-1, and he knows he has to beat him really to have a chance. Whereas Fritz has now he's already got that win in the bag. He's got the straight sets win in the bag. He's got de Minaur. I don't know what his head-to-head with de Minaur is, but he's got to fancy his chances.
I think de Minaur has a positive head-to-head record against him, but the last time they played, de Minaur did beat him. I think that was at the United Cup at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
that was at the United Cup at the beginning of the year. And going into that match, I would favour Fritz just because the form that Fritz is showing at the second half of the season is really, really strong. And you would certainly say that he should be able to then get past the de Minaur, who probably will play a lot better than what's happening at the moment, or certainly what he got with Medvedev.
I was just going to say, you've got to factor in that maybe, like you said earlier, the winners will play each other and the losers play each other in the next match. If de Minaur, like we expect him to lose to Sinner today, if de Minaur then beats Medvedev, they're in a position where de Minaur is playing Fritz, realistically with a winner probably going through. So it could be very, very interesting. I think this group feels like it's more up for grabs than the other group, perhaps.
Do you think it's up to grabs in terms of all the places, or do you think it's up to grabs in terms of that second place?
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. I feel like it's Sinner and then the rest, whereas the other group feels like Zverev and Alcaraz, and then separate from Rublev and Ruud. That's kind of how I see it.
No, I tend to agree that in terms of, as we kind of said midstream, this match, the match that'll be between de Minaur and Medvedev, and the match between de Minaur and Fritz, they're going to be that almost feels going into it as the more competitive, interesting contests. It kind of feels certainly with Sinner and just the form that Sinner's in. I know I had an illness in Paris. I mean, he didn't play, but we fully expect with the Turin crowd, Northern Italy crowd, the part of Italy that he's from, that he should win all 3 matches in his group, and he should win them effectively, comfortably. Like, I'd be very surprised if even if any of these players could take a set off Sinner, just how well Sinner's playing at the moment. But as you say, this match could be very key. Medvedev does not want to be going not only a loss down, but then also a 2 sets negative sets record already, because this now really means that he has to beat de Minaur and has to beat him in straights, and he now needs to. You probably would say at this stage he needs to get a result against Sinner, and I just don't see that happening. It feels weird to say, bizarrely, but you could probably say that Medvedev is already out of contention to even qualify for the knockout stages, just given the poor result here.
It's definitely looking unlikely, given that he's still got to play Sinner and has lost in straight sets. I mean, he only hit 1 double fault in that second set, but the 7 in the first set cost him so much. Then the second set, there was all that thing with just his kind of meltdown after getting broken. It felt like that's where the match really just unraveled. And like, as we see there, our first serve points were from Fritz, 85%, whereas Medvedev only won 27% of his second serve points. It's kind of just, these are the margins. And I felt like Fritz, although it felt like we're talking a lot more about Medvedev and his poor performance, and I think that is definitely relevant, Fritz was also very solid. I think he played the longer rallies very well. I think he was very patient.
It very much feels as well, potentially moments were also quite key. That moment at the back end of the first set for Fritz to be able to get the break and get the set. That was the first key moment. From the flip side, those first 2 service games on the Fritz serve at the beginning of the second, when Medvedev had breakpoint chances, and couldn't take any of them. And he got into rallies with those ones as well. Like, it wasn't as though Fritz just served aces or unreturnables to get out of those situations. He was in points. He was in the points in those break point chances and couldn't take them. And there's a classic thing we usually see in most sets is that if a player doesn't take their opportunities on their opponent's serve, their own serve ends up being broken, or they get to a tiebreaker and they just end up falling apart. And that happened here. It's a sliding doors moment. What if Medvedev was able to get those break points in earlier on? You probably could say that this would probably have gone to a third set and it would have been much more competitive.
Yeah, I actually did think it was going to a third set, but like you say, Medvedev did take those break points. Fritz, I feel like, played those break points down very well and then took his own chance, and that was kind of it from that point, like you say. And yeah, it's just a big opening match for both players for very different reasons.
And as I think something that we pointed out during the match as well, those extended rallies, those +9 shots, majority of them being won by Fritz. Yet going into this match, you would have expected Medvedev to have been the main victor when the points extend beyond 9 shots. That is, again, full credit to Taylor for being able to produce that and to be able to bring that level in those long extended rallies. But as you say, it's just there's so much happening with Medvedev in terms of form, in terms of where the general question of what is his relevance going to be in the tennis world going into next year. That all that played out in a performance from Medvedev, as you say, loads of double faults in the first set, tidied it up a bit in the second, but then when he went a breakdown in the second, mentally just checked out. There are a lot of troubling signs to, it's almost as if we're reading the tea leaves for next year, right now in Turin. But these are the players that he usually beats. A year ago, 2 years ago, you would have had Medvedev beaten Fritz. Now it's the complete polar opposite. As I said, my prediction, I don't have him winning a single match this week, and it very much feels like that's about to happen almost.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I do think he'll play all the matches. I think that will happen because obviously there's been some questions about his shoulder injuries and would he withdraw. I don't think so. I think, to be honest, it was more just frustration today. But
I mean, I could see him potentially if he loses to Sinner because it depends if he plays, because most likely, and we'll go on to just do a quick preview in a bit. But if he loses to Dimitrov, you could see him just saying, "I'm not going to take a battering from Sinner. I'm just going to check out here and let Grigor Dimitrov play him."
Yeah, because really, will he want to be playing Sinner, let alone again? But realistically, when he's already lost 2 matches and is probably going to lose again, it's not going to be what he wants to end this season.
No, I think Tuesday morning, because he'll be in the day session. The Tuesday day match is going to be critical for Medvedev. If he manages to get a win there, he'll then have an attempt against Sinner. But if he loses it, I fully expect him just to say, "See ya, I'm done." Medvedev, of course, has not won a title this year, and it looks as though he won't be winning a title at all this year, which is such a big surprise. The last title he won was back in Rome in 2023. Which was which was on the clay court, which is such a surprise when it happened anyway. They were talking about as well on the commentary just before that in 2023 he had that mad hard court run where he won Rotterdam, Doha, Dubai, and then India, and then Miami, all in that sort of like 2-month window. We're not seeing a similar form to that at all. Unless Medvedev decides next year to drop down to some 250s, I see it seems very difficult for him to be able to even pick up any titles. It feels like.
Yeah, I think the problem is he just keeps running into the players that, quite frankly, are now better than him and are consistently beating him. And then there's also weeks where he is getting caught out by players who are kind of around his ranking, maybe a bit, or having a good week, and it just kind of feels like Medvedev has gone from being the challenger, the real disruptor, as we mentioned earlier, to being the disrupted and kind of the one who is there to be challenged and can be vulnerable. It's a real, and I think maybe even mentally that must be quite difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're if you're a player, if you're a player who feels you're in good form, you could have a deep run at a deep run at a tournament. You pray that you get put in a Medvedev quarter because you feel as though you've got a chance to really take it to him to get that deep run.
Yeah, 100%. Dave's asked in the chat about, is he the only player in this tournament not to win a title? And I think he is.
Yeah, because de Minaur's got a couple of titles. Ruud's got a couple of clay court titles. Rublev's got 2 titles, one on clay, one in Hong Kong. And then, of course, Sinner, Alcaraz, Zverev. Sinner, Alcaraz, Zverev. Who else am I missing? I think I've said them all. Yeah, I think he is the only player. Fritz has got Del Rey and Eastbourne on his resume.
Yeah.
So he is the only player here this year that has not won a title.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.